Yo, what's good, my dude?
What's up, Trap? I realize. Before I go on my tangent, how you doing though?
Oh, I can't complain, bro. It was a pretty easy day at work. I'm at home in the studio. I'm doing good. How you doing, man?
Doing good, bro.
Hmm?
Me and my bro was talking about it. It's a great idea, man. We're trying to do it
The
with the
the
car
the
shop
rental
place.
shop, yeah, the rental shop space.
Yeah, bro. Cause
I,
this is the army, the military. So my bro, he said, "Yo, they don't have that outside." Like, no, they don't. easy market for us. You want, you create jobs. It's not as much, but like 3 bays, you get 1 or 2 mechanics, 2 per bay. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I run the idea. He said, yo, shit, let's fucking do this shit. So he's more for the business aspect type of guy. So, you know, we're trying to do that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And my second thing, I know what I'm going to do when I retire. I sit down and thought about it. I have two projects I want to do. You know what my projects is going to be?
Mm-hmm. What's that?
I'm going to buy one of those military heavy-duty trucks, the LMTVs, the flat-nose ones.
Okay.
You go buy one of those for $5,000.
Huh?
You could buy one of those for $5,000 and a military surplus and try to get rid of them.
Oh yeah. Damn.
Hmm?
That's what's up.
So what I'm gonna do with it is it's a truck, it's a flatbed. I'm gonna convert it to an RV. So when I retire, all I do is just travel. I just drive around. It's a big truck. I have everything like an apartment.
That's not a bad. Everybody else do like buses and big ass camper vans and shit like that, but
I want that shit.
yeah.
Why my wife? Hold on. She's calling my wife's calling right now. That's what she want to say.
All right.
Okay.
Yo, Puff. Oh man. Back streaming live out the studio. After a little break. What's good with you, man? You off work yet or what? How your day shaping up? Oh boy. Hopefully, two reasons I haven't been streaming as often lately. The number one main reason I haven't been streaming that much is because I'm doing a bunch of naked paintings of myself. everybody don't want to see this shit every day. Everybody want to look at this shit for hours at a time. So I just been trying to paint. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to knock some of these shits out and get pretty far into it. So you guys can watch me wrap up each piece. Not use replacements. Yo, cheap ass. This motherfucker cheap as shit. Man, get you something new, man. Motherfucker got all the monies. He got all the monies. Talking about, man, I'm on eBay trying to find some used replacements. This got all the monies. And motherfucker, they tell you right. And motherfucker wanna go on eBay. You better go to Best Buy. Tell my eBay. But yeah, ain't nobody wanna see me naked in the studio for hours and hours at a time. Sorry, I cut y'all some slack. And I got the canvases. All of them are pretty far along. And like I said, I just really wanted to focus on that. But then I'm not gonna lie, like another a really main reason I haven't been streaming out the studio. Man, I'm almost embarrassed to say, but I've just been playing video games, bro. I ain't even gonna lie, man. That Ghost of Tsushima, bruh. The game was so good, and I'm basically finished with it. I got to a point last night where I think I beat the final boss, but then there's still just like a little bit left after that. So I'm definitely gonna get on it tonight and see how the story wraps up. But in just a couple of weeks, man, I put like 40 something hours in that game. Not gonna lie, bro. Like 40 something hours playing video games in the past couple weeks. It's like a whole work week. Then I kept thinking to myself, like every time I check my hours on there, that shit like 28 hours, 31 hours, 39 hours, 41 hours. It's like shit, man. For 41 hours, I could have had one of these paintings already done. In 41 hours, that's a lot of time to paint. But I didn't, because I was playing video games. So yeah. So that's another main reason I haven't really been streaming lately. And there's one more factor in there. Y'all know how my Wi-Fi signal be shitty as hell sometimes. I've been complaining about that shit for a couple years, ever since I've been on the third floor in the studio. But keep saying I'm gonna get a signal booster and all that other shit, man. But there was one day last week, man, our Wi-Fi signal, that shit just kept going in and out, in and out, in and out. And so I just went ahead and got like a new router. I didn't get a booster, but I got like a new, better router. And so hopefully that'll give me a better, more stable connection up here for Wi-Fi. And so I don't get so frustrated when I'm streaming. And make it like 10 minutes into a stream, then that shit shuts down. Then you try to start it back up, and you wind up doing that shit 3 times in an hour. And then the whole stream is gone. I got some shit in my hair. What the fuck is that? What time is it? 3:30. I ain't been doing a lot of shit other than playing the game. Motherfuckers going peace at the crowd. What the hell? But back to business now, I guess. I say I may linger for a couple more days until I absolutely finish that fucking game, but and then there's a PlayStation Plus gave us a new game, like it just came out and they gave it to us for free. It's called Stray. You play as a cat, and I watched the Rad Brad play like the first 30 minutes of it, maybe. No, yeah, about 30 minutes or so. I think I might try to play that a little bit. I was actually gonna stream that. My girlfriend, we watched, like I said, I was watching Rad Brad play it, and she was sitting in the living room watching it too, and she was like, "Who the fuck wants to play a game about being a cat?" And so she's like, I don't want to watch you play that stupid ass game. So I haven't played it yet, but I definitely want to. Man. So, that's about all I've been up to. Ah. So even though I haven't been streaming, I have been still working on the art, man. I should, a little bit here and there where I can. So, I ain't even really been making beats lately. I got a couple beats I've been playing with, but it's nothing like too tough. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no bangers or nothing. I don't think I really made a super banging ass beat that I'm extra proud of yet. I'm gonna get there though. Definitely want to get there. My girl dropped some new shit. She dropped a new little song, completely in-house, written, recorded, produced, mixed, and everything on the iPad, on GarageBand. She did all that shit by herself, and it sounds pretty damn good, yo. But I think I did, I got this one track that still ain't got no, making a beer run on the clock. You know that nigga got a good ass job. This the start of something. I want to see what I can do with this. That might be something. Like I said, they ain't got no title to it yet. I need to add some breakdowns and some leads in there. And then I did this one. This is called Big Time. You know, because I'm always big time, you know. So I don't do nothing small. I always do it big. Yeah, you can. That's something to work with, man. Y'all please. I just gotta play with it a little bit. could listen to that one. I had that on loop for a minute when I was in here the other day. Just this one little beat. It's kind of simple. I only got one breakdown in there and no leads or nothing like that, but I can still come back to that and spice it up a little bit. And that's it, yo. And like the last two beats I made, I got so many beats on this list now. Let's see. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. I literally got 50 beats on this shit, yo. 50 beats. Even. And like, I think out of the 50 beats, maybe like 4 of them are kind of hot. You know what I'm saying? But hey, we'll keep trying. You know what I'm saying? Just gonna keep trying to make music on this shit. 8 o'clock in the morning. I think right now this is probably one of the newer beats that I made in the past month or so. And it's still like one of my more favorite beats. Like the little breakdown I got in there, and it's coming right here. I throw pots and pans downstairs to make new beats. I thought that's how Asian people name their kids. Ping pong tong wang ting tang tong chang pong pong tang. That was kind of racist and pretty offensive. Hope I don't get banned from YouTube for that. I apologize. See, I throw pots and pans. That's probably my favorite part, yo. That second set of horns that come in there. Now the first horns, dun, 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 dun. Them horns hot, yo. I love these horns, yo. will listen to this shit for an hour with no problem. Just let that shit go on repeat and keep doing corny freestyles in my head. I could have swore there was one more like more recent one. Well, lounge chairs. That's not new. I think I made lounge chairs before I made that last beat, but this one isn't a terrible beat either. I don't think. Breakdown on the first 8, I might have to add that one to the second 8 too. It comes up right here at 7 bars. That break right there. I think I need that in there again somewhere. Adding that spaced out sound effect in there, I really like that part, yo. I tried to do that in some other beats and it just didn't sound right, or I wasn't hitting it at the right time, but kind of like that one. This one is called City Lights. Getting a little better with the beats. Like I say, nothing ain't a real banger yet, but they all sound okay. What up, my guy, my guy, my guy. The beats is crunk right now, son. I emailed you a little while ago too. Well, not even a little while ago, literally just like a few minutes ago. My bad on procrastination on the email tip, because I know I'll be taking forever to email niggas back. I'm really just getting used to emailing, like, because I work in the office now. It's just like, I gotta check my emails. But now I done got so used to fucking checking my work emails that I be forgetting to check my own personal emails sometimes. And I be going days without looking at my own shit, which isn't good because I missed a lot of information the other day in the email that I should have been replied to. Well, what's good though, guys? I actually want to work on this hand, and yeah. Who? You or me? You? I'm taking a trip soon too. Everybody needs some time off. You know what I'm saying? Your job offer you vacation time, you better use that shit. My job give me an as a vacation time. Like every year that I've worked there, I've had to carry over hours into the next year. Which is, I mean, that's dope as shit. That's how much time we get. But we can only carry over 1 week of vacation time, and we have to use it in January. So if you don't use that shit before the end of January, then you lose it. I have never lost any vacation time. Trust me. I've carried over a couple hours, and I've used those hours. And last year, I specifically saved some hours because my girlfriend's birthday is in January. So I just made sure like I would have enough time to be off for her birthday. Probably do the same thing this year as well because she's trying to take a trip somewhere for her birthday. So we'll probably be out of state for a couple days. So definitely need to make sure I carry at least a couple of days over. But like right now I got like almost 80 hours of time saved up. Well, I'm gonna take a lot of time off in September though. I'll be going on it was gonna be 2 trips, but now it's just gonna be like one big trip. I thought I was going to California and Tennessee like in the same month, but like at the beginning of the month and at the end of the month. But come to find out, like both dates are kind of like towards the end, and so I'm gonna leave PA and fly to California, and then when I leave Cali, I'm gonna just fly straight to Tennessee, and then do the art thing out there, and then leave Tennessee, and then come back home. Cause I thought I would go to Cali and then come back, and then a couple weeks passed, and then I go to Tennessee and come back. But it ain't gonna work like that. I'm gonna have to just do all that shit in like one trip. So that should be pretty interesting. I've uh I've never done a trip like that, like hitting two different states on opposite coasts at the same time. So this should be fun and interesting, and it definitely will be a learning experience too. So I'm all for it. You know what I'm saying? I'm all for it. So now, like I was saying, I want to work on his hand. It looks like my paints should be pretty good. I don't think I have to add anything. Maybe. I doubt it. I may need a little bit more of this color here. Let me go ahead and dab that up. Yo, so I've been watching this dude. His name is Danny Mall, and he has a dope ass YouTube channel where he literally just reads comic books to you, and that's it. He shows you all the artwork, as the story goes on. But like, it's just dope. Like, if you don't want to go out and buy comic books and all that shit, but you still think they're cool, like, check out Danny Mall on YouTube. I've listened to so many series he's gone over, from Y the Last Man, Preacher, Irredeemable, Jupiter's Legacy, The Boys. Man, so much more, yo. Like, Sweet Tooth. And there's like 4 or 5 other shits I'd have listened to him. He did the Flintstones. Man, like I say, I'd have listened to him read so many comics. Yo, I know I've listened to like him go through maybe 12 or 13 different comics so far, and then the most recent one he's doing right now. Who's calling?
I'm not even off the clock yet. I'm still working. What?
There's no gin in here. I said a gin ginger.
I thought you couldn't spell when you meant a ginger ale.
Yeah, I meant ginger ale with gin in it.
You said gin, ginger, like you didn't even separate it. Gin with ginger.
We was playing the jokes last night and we was doing the word
the
play.
Gin ginger.
Yeah, I told you that's the new drink, the gin ginger.
Oh my gosh.
She forgot already that quick.
Do you know that, like, I've literally still
I get it.
Okay.
I get it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That shit ain't had no alcohol in it at all. And a little bit of ice. Like I'm a kid. Like I'm going to choke on the ice or something. I asked her to bring me a drink. And she brought me a soft drink. But I should have worded it different, I guess. I was just trying to be funny. And I called it a gin ginger. It's gin and ginger ale. Gin ginger. Gin ginger. Anyway. What I was saying? Oh, Danny. All the comics he's read. And so now I just watched a new one. A new book that he's going over called Paper Girls. And it was pretty good. And then he even said that Amazon Prime had picked up the rights to Paper Girls to make a live action TV series about this shit. And it's already out. So I listened to him read the comic book. I think he only read like the first 2 installments. I think like the first set was like 5 comics, and then the second set was like 3 or 4 comic books. But I listened to him read all that, and then I started watching Paper Girls last night. And it's not a bad show. And it tries to stay true to the original comic, and the character build and the essentially the main plot of the story is basically the same. So you do have all the aspects from the feature. Most of the aspects of the comic has made it into the TV show, and it's about a group of young girls, and they are like newspaper delivery kids. You know, like the paper boy who comes and throw your paper on your porch, but they're just girls. And it's set in 1988. So I think that's cool because that's the time when I came up. You know what I'm saying? The 80s and 90s. So I always love like time period pieces that'll take you to that era or those decades because I'm very, very familiar with it. It seems normal to me, and I love the nostalgia of my childhood. So I like shows that are set in like the 80s and 90s. I think they're fucking cool. And so that was another like aspect of the comic that really caught my attention. Is like, oh, this shit is set in like the late 80s. And damn, I don't want to give too much of that shit away just in case y'all bored. Y'all need something to watch. But Paper Girls, it's a good comic book. The TV show isn't terrible. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, they try to really stay true to the source content. And they're doing a pretty good job at it so far. I think I watched like the first 2.5 episodes. I turned it off because I was about to start binging that shit, and I would have been up all night um, playing fucking listening to Paper Girls. But it's getting pretty good. This is all liquor. Nice.
I don't know if that's too much, but it looks like more because there's so much ice in it.
No, that's why I take.
Straight gin.
Yeah.
Alright, let me go finish up my birthday.
Alright.
I'm not never gonna get done. I'm just procrastinating.
Thank you again.
You're welcome, babe. You want something to snack on?
I'm good. Just found a replacement, $100. Cheap ass. Cheap ass. As a matter of fact, Paper Girls was so good. Like, I might play the comic book version since it is the original and not the TV show. I'm gonna have to That's pretty cool. I never put the passcode in for my new router on the iPad, but I guess since my phone and my iPad are synced, and my phone is on the new router, it automatically just synced the iPad up to the router as well. So that's what's up. All right, 50 minutes. I've been in here running my mouth and listening to beats, smoking tweeds. These motherfuckers just catch this work. That's it, nigga. That shit don't need to be top of the line, nothing. That shit just needs to work. I feel you. What I did today at work, I played with Legos, my nigga. I ain't even gonna lie, bro. Just play with Legos. Alright, so what's good? Y'all ready for some comic book reading? I'm pretty sure I listened to some of Danny's stuff in a stream before. I don't know. Like I said, I really like his channel. I listen to a lot of his stuff. I want to go back and listen to like some of his earlier. Yeah, Danny Malt. Oh, so he only did the first 2 volumes of Paper Girls, and he just dropped his review of the TV show. I gotta listen to that first. And now, this is an older one. It's called DMZ, Demilitarized Zone. The comic came out in 2006, and he says that HBO Max actually picked up the rights to this one to make it into a TV show starring Rosario Dawson or somebody. The Sandman, Sweet Tooth, Why the Last Man, Batman, Irredeemable, American Vampire, Saga, The Good Asian. I started listening to that one, but I never finished it. Yo, he has hundreds of videos up here from different comics. Black Cat, War of the Realms, Dog Days of Summer. See, I gotta go to some of his earlier videos because I didn't even watch them shits. Stupid ass flying here. So let's see what his review of the TV show is first. And then we'll listen to volume 1 of Paper Girls. Like I say, the show, it's hard to translate anything into another medium. It's hard to make a video game into a movie. It's hard to make a movie into a video game. It's hard to make a Japanese anime into a live action movie that the American viewers would watch. It's just hard to translate a lot of things, and even when it comes to comic books, it's hard to take the original source material from a comic and make that into a show or a movie and keep it 100%. So I think Paper Girls, they're doing a pretty good job.
Score big deals on the best active brands at Kohl's. Save 20% on Nike shoes.
But we'll see. He always uses his music. I like his intro music.
Girls is a TV show that came out on Amazon Prime Video this weekend. It is based on
just
the
came out,
series written by Brian K. Vaughan. Now, I have covered the first 2 volumes of the 6-volume series here on my channel, so watch those videos if you are interested to see some of the differences between the TV show and the comic. I am planning on covering the remainder of the series over the rest of the summer. So, what is
This shit right here, Geiger, that shit was good too. You can see the red bar. I already watched that one, but I think there's another season that he has to finish up the Geiger story.
About? It is about 4 newspaper delivery girls, and it is set in the 1980s. And these 4 girls get sucked into this crazy time travel adventure where they meet their future selves, and they are caught in the middle of this war between these 2
no, he's telling too much. Let's listen to Paper Girls 1, and then let's listen to his review of the TV show.
Hello everyone. everyone. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the comic series called Paper Girls, written by Brian K. Vaughan. Paper Girls is being adapted into a TV show on Amazon Prime Video, and it is coming out in just a few weeks. Now, in this video, I am going to be breaking down just Volume 1, but over the next several weeks, I am planning on covering the entire 6-volume series. Now, what is Paper Girls about? It is about these 4 newspaper delivery girls, and they become friends, and it is set in the 1980s. And the girls, they get sucked into this crazy time travel, high science fiction adventure, and it is quite compelling. It very much reminds me of Stranger Things in its vibe, although this comic came out before Stranger Things, so don't think it's ripping Stranger Things off. If anything, Stranger Things is ripping this thing off. Oh, some of you might be a little bit against following female lead characters, but trust me, the girls in this book are very compelling and funny and very relatable, so don't let that hold you back. Now, Brian K. Vaughan is one of my favorite writers. I covered his series Y the Last Man here on my channel.
That was good.
So check that out if you have not. Now, Y the Last Man recently also got adapted into a TV show. Unfortunately, it got canceled, but hopefully Paper Girls will do better than that show did. So wrote Saga, another great series, which I also covered here on my channel, so check that out.
Yeah, Saga was good.
Alright, let's dive into it now. Volume 1 of Paper Girls. Paper Girls Volume 1, written by Brian K. Vaughan, art by Cliff Chiang, colors by Matt Wilson, and letters by Jared K. Fletcher. Let's start off first with a character breakdown. Our main Paper Girls that we will be following this series are Erin Tiang. She is the new girl in town. She is Asian. She attends a Catholic school called St. Nick's, and she carries a pocket knife. There is Mackenzie Coyle. Most people just call her Mac. She has ginger hair and is a cigarette-smoking tomboy who swears constantly. Mac was the first girl to become a paperboy in their town. She is cynical and snarky and comes from a blue-collar Irish Catholic family. There is KJ, or Karina, or Cage, as she is sometimes referred to. She is considered the smart one of the group. KJ attends a private school named Buttonwood Academy. She plays field hockey and she is Jewish. There is Tiffany Quilkin. She is an obsessive gamer who loves her walkie-talkies. She is African American and she is the adopted daughter of a mixed-race family. She attends a Catholic school called St. Pete's. Now that you know our 4 main Paper Girls, let's dive into Issue 1. It is November 1st, 1988, the morning after Halloween. 12-year-old girl Erin Tiang is a new resident in Stony Stream, a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, and she is a recently hired paper delivery girl for the Cleveland Preserver newspaper. Erin wakes up early this morning in the 4 a.m. hour to deliver the papers to the various homes in her neighborhood. Erin, when she wakes up, asks her sister Missy, whom she shares a bedroom with, if she's dead. Missy, annoyed that her sleep is disturbed by her sister, shoots her sister a snarky look. Erin takes pleasure in annoying her. Erin, she sees the newspaper truck drop off a stack of papers in front of her home for delivering. It is time for her to get to work. On Erin's calendar, she refers to this particular morning as Hell Morning. Because it was Halloween the night before, there are still some crazies and teenagers who may still be prowling the streets from the night before. Erin, she gets on her bike and begins cycling the neighborhood delivering papers. On her route, Erin runs into another teenager named Lucas Kurzenberger, who is dressed as Freddy Krueger. Lucas and his friends are up to no good. They have spray paint cans with them and are doing some sort of vandalism. Lucas, he yells at Erin to give him a newspaper right now. Erin refuses. Lucas tries to grab one out of her bag. Erin is saved from this hassling of these teenagers by a group of other newspaper delivery girls arriving. There is Mackenzie Coyle with orange hair, Tiffany Quilkin on her left, and KJ or Karina on her right. Mackenzie, or Mac, yells at Lucas to get lost. She tells him, or I'll tell your gym coach of a dad that you were out past curfew, harassing little girls. Lucas and his friends slink off, but before they leave, Lucas says, whatever, good luck getting home alive, bitch. Erin thanks Mac and her friends for coming to her rescue. All four girls then discuss what it is like working as paper girls in this town. Also, which school they go to and whatnot. Mac, she pulls out a cigarette and says, you rich girls want to compare report cards all night, or can we get back to business? The girls don't usually deliver papers together, but because this is the day after Halloween, they decide to split off into two groups and deliver in teams, just for safety. Mac and Erin as one team, and Tiffany and KJ as another. Tiffany gives Mac one of her walkie-talkies she oh so cherishes. They are actually kind of expensive, especially if you are a 12-year-old girl in 1988. So she gives it to Mac so that way the two groups can stay in contact with one another. Behind Erin in the neighborhood right now, we see three people wrapped up in black bandages, almost like a mummy. These are not normal trick-or-treaters, though. They are something more sinister. I mean, look at this one guy's eye. It's all messed up and whatnot. More on them later, though. Erin and Mac are biking their route, and Mac is telling Erin the tricks of the newspaper delivery girl trade. The two of them then get stopped by a police officer. He says to the girls, I got multiple reports of someone smashing windows in this development. Mac, who comes from a rougher family with a troublemaker older brother, asks, so what? Cop replies, so you getting into the family business, Mac? Mac denies it, and Erin defends Mac, saying that she was with her all night. She did nothing. The cop accepts this for now, but he shouts a warning to Mac, saying, keep it up, Coyle, sooner or later. And then he leaves. Mac says, sooner or later what? Erin is surprised that her new friend she's making here, Mac, is known by the police. She asks Mac, the police know you by name? Mac replies, I guess. Erin then asks, so what do cigarettes taste like anyway? Before Mac can answer, though, they hear something startling on the walkie-talkie. It sounds like someone is attacking them. Tiffany reports in the walkie-talkie, we're on the corner of Locust and Ash, and we're, hey, stop! Hey, don't touch her! I'll... The walkie-talkie then cuts out. Erin and Mac, concerned, bike as quickly as they can over there. And when they arrive, they see Tiffany scraped her knee. And KJ and Tiffany say that they got jumped by three guys in bad ghost costumes. They were referring to those three sinister dudes we saw earlier behind Erin. Tiffany, she starts tearing up. They stole her walkie-talkie. It cost her a lot of money to buy all her Christmas tips. Months of riding in the freezing cold down the drain. Erin asks if they should phone the police, but Tiffany and Mac argue the police in Stony Stream are useless. Mac thinks that they should take matters into their own hands. Mac speaks into the walkie-talkie that she has a warning. She says, hey, whichever dumb fucks robbed our friend, if you can hear this, get ready, because we're coming to get our shit back. The four girls bike towards where they think the three mystery men went. The girls then believe that the mystery men went inside this house that is under construction. So they climb into the house through the window, and they begin looking around. They have their flashlight on as it is dark inside. They hear a sound in the basement, so the girls head downstairs. In the basement, they see a black tarp covering something. They remove the tarp and reveal a very odd-looking machine. KJ thinks it's a piece of modern art, maybe. Erin thinks maybe it's from outer space. It looks like the Apollo capsule. The girls investigate it a bit closer. Eventually, the capsule starts making a weird noise, and a large light gets emitted into the room, and we see the girls' skeletons for a brief moment. And then, after all of this commotion, everything returns to normal. The girls, they begin booking it and running out of the house, scared. Is that machine going to explode? What the hell was it? The girls, as they head outside, they look into the night sky, and it looks all trippy and weird, way more stars than normal, and everything looks all bright. Tiffany, she spots the mysterious walkie-talkie thieves nearby, and the four girls begin running after them. The three mystery men, they speak in an odd, futuristic language, indecipherable to us. The three men, they run into separate directions. KJ gets close to one, but she gets clocked in the face by the man. Mac, angry now, jumps on the man and grabs at his mask and yanks it off, revealing a hideous-looking, deformed man. This man is named Naldo. Naldo speaks in a language none of the girls understand. Naldo, he then starts strangling Mac. Tiffany, she whacks Naldo in the head with KJ's field hockey stick. And Naldo, he mutters something and then runs off. The girls, they regain their composure. They notice that Naldo dropped something in all of the commotion, and it has a weird symbol on it. Aaron picks it up and says, "It's an apple." This device they are holding that Naldo had is some sort of Apple device from the future. It is not an Apple device I recognize, so it must be from even further in the future than our current day, 2022. But for Erin and her friends back in 1988, where Apple was just known for a few of its computers, this device seems even stranger and more peculiar. Issue 2.
Everything's on sale during Raymore and Flanagan's Buy More, Save More sale. Get 10% off everything and 15% off purchases over $2,900.
Yeah, Raymore, whatever, bro.
We see one of Naldo's allies running in the neighborhood. His name is Jude. Jude looks confused, not sure where to go. He jumps a fence and is in someone's backyard when suddenly a rift opens in the sky above him, and a goddamn pterodactyl comes out of the rift, and it swoops down and lifts Jude up into the air, and blood splatters everywhere. We then see the hand of a man dressed in white, and he grabs the bag that Jude was carrying, and he removes Tiffany's walkie-talkie. Back to the paper girls. They retreat to Erin's house, trying to figure out what is going on. What was with that machine? Why were they attacked? Why is the sky all weird now? Erin's parents and sisters have all disappeared. Mac comments, "After all the insane crap going on, your family probably got the hell out of Stony Street." Even though the world is going crazy right now, KJ can't help but comment how weird it is that Erin's family gives out full-size Hershey bars for Halloween. Full size? Mac says, "Jesus, how can you two think about candy when the town's being overrun by monsters?" The girls, they then hear some noises come through the walkie-talkie from whoever retrieved Tiffany's other walkie-talkie. The noises are just weird grunting, maybe laughing. The girls decide that
Alright, I'm
they
trying to
need
hit the phone real
the
quick
police,
one more time.
finally. But when Mac tries to phone, she reports there's no dial tone, just that emergency broadcast sound. I'm telling you, everybody must have gotten the order to evacuate. Mac says they should all go to her house. Her dad has a gun. Erin thinks that they should just stay here and let the adults handle things. But Mac argues, the adults already blew this popsicle stand, new kid. So you can hide out here and wait for those Frankensteins to break in and rape your face, but I'm gonna find a way to defend myself. Who's with me? The girls have a vote. Mac, Tiffany, and KJ all vote to get Mac's dad's gun at her house. Erin, she is hesitant, but she decides to go along with them. And the four paper girls begin biking to Mac's house. On their way, they discuss their theories on what the Apple device is. Remember, everyone, this is 1988, Aaron says. The device has a logo on it, a lot like the one on the computer my school got last year. I've been thinking, what if this is some kind of micro version of it? KJ, not believing it, says, how would you fit an entire computer inside something the size of a Klondike bar? Aaron replies, well, 30 years ago, computers used to fill up entire rooms. Maybe they'll get even smaller in the future. KJ, puzzled, asks, back up. You think we're being invaded by what? Time travelers? Aaron argues it's at least sort of scientifically possible. I mean, what if the people who jumped us used that capsule thing we found to slingshot around the sun, you know, like in Star Trek 4? Mac, who's biking ahead of them and smoking, Aaron saying, hey, Siskel and Ebert, would you please zip it? We're supposed to be keeping our eyes peeled. A whole bunch of pterodactyls and lightning come from the sky. And now the girls are really confused. What is going on? They begin biking as fast as they've ever biked in their lives, until eventually they arrive at Mac's house. Mac's house is kind of shitty. It kind of reminds me of Kenny's house in South Park. When they arrive, Mac is looking for her dad's gun in the closet, and they are interrupted by Mac's stepmother, Alice Coyle. Alice is drinking some whiskey, and she is already plastered. Mac asks, where's my dad? Alice answers, I was dozing next to him in bed when this awful sound woke us both up, and then I watched my husband just vanish. He disappeared into thin air. Alice then tells the girls her theory, that those creatures outside mean that it's the end of the world. She believes that Mac's dad, because he was a good man, got sucked up to heaven, but the rest of them sinners are down here, stranded. Alice, she then pulls out the gun that Mac was looking for, and she points the gun to her head, and she says she is going to kill herself. Alice begins crying and says, I hated being 12. Back in 1965, I just wanted to grow up fast, so everything would finally be good, you know? But the truth is, life was actually better back then. Turns out, the older you get, the more everything just turns to shit. You girls are lucky you'll never have to find that out. Mac, she begins yelling, saying, don't! And she tries to wrestle the gun out of her stepmom's hands. In the ensuing scuffle, the gun fires. A loud bang screams out. Issue 3. Over at the high school, there is a teenage boy and teenage girl, and they are watching a portal or rift in the sky open, and lightning and pterodactyls are coming out. A lot of their friends just vanished, and they seem to be left behind, wondering why. The male teenager decides to kiss the female teenager, assuming because it is the end of the world, he may as well take his chance with her. He gets pushed away, though, and rejected. The girl says, what is wrong with you? I don't even like you like that, psycho. Before they can argue some more, a man wearing all white, riding a pterodactyl, lands near them. This man is named Alistair. He is the man that retrieved the walkie-talkie from Jude's dead body last issue. Alistair points his weird, magical staff weapon at the teenagers and fires an energy beam at them and makes them disappear. Alistair then says into a communication device, hey, I paused up 2 more stragglers. Back over to Mac's house. The gun that accidentally went off fired and shot at Erin. Erin is bleeding now and she falls down. The girls want to try and get Erin to the hospital. Alice, the only adult there, seemed to have ran off or disappeared. The girls are not sure. Either way, though, the girls decide to drive to the hospital to get Erin help. The girls are really young, though, and none of them know how to drive. Tiffany decides that she will be the driver. Her dad let her steer in the parking lot before. Mac wants to bring the gun, but the other girls are arguing against it now. They don't want someone else accidentally getting shot. They all eventually leave. Tiffany is driving, KJ is in the front seat, and Aaron is lying in the back seat with Mac putting pressure on Aaron's wound. Elsewhere, we see those mysterious men in black bandages again. One of them is Naldo, and the other is named Heck. They find their comrade Jude dead in the backyard of someone's home. This concerns them, so Heck pulls out what looks like a ray gun and is ready to use it. The paper girls are driving when Alistair appears before them in the road. Tiffany slams on the brakes. Alistair begins talking to them. We can understand his English, but he speaks in a very odd way, in a modified version of English, heavily dependent on slang, similar to Old English in style. Alistair says, "No know how you learnt so long, but end credits for de lot, masters. Your transgresses willn't be." Tiffany begins talking to the man, and she tries to explain that her friend Aaron got shot and they're trying to get her help. Alistair then realizes that these girls in front of him are not from the future time. They are locals to this time. So Alistair reaches for an electronic red translator device he has, and he starts translating his words to the girls. Alistair, through the translator device, says, "My sincere apologies. This must have been very troubling for you to witness. I promise you won't remember a thing." Alistair starts prepping his staff weapon to fire on the girls. The girls start freaking out, but Alistair reassures them, saying, "I give you my word that none of you will be harmed, and that wounds of your injured companion will be addressed." Mac is confused. She asks, "What does that mean? Can these people fix Aaron or not?" Alistair continues, "Children, your questions will be answered, but it's very dangerous for you to be out during ablution. If you would please remain perfectly still, I can take you to..." Before Alistair can finish his sentence, he gets shot in the head. The girls panic. They think KJ did it, as KJ is holding the gun, but she did not. It was Heck and Naldo who caught up to the girls. The two mysterious men in black bandages grab Alistair's translator device, and they begin talking with it to the girls. Heck explains to the girls, "Trust us. Help is the last thing these old-timers would have given you. And we're not aliens. We're just like you. We're teenagers." Heck, he reveals his face, and like Naldo, he also suffers from deformities. Issue 4.
Se parece como una pintura de muy buena calidad, manejable, la textura se puede apreciar que cubre.
We see a man lying in a bed wearing a Public Enemy shirt. This man is referred to as Grandfather. Grandfather appears to be a leader of some sort. He gets a phone call from a soldier woman named Cardinal. Cardinal reports in that Alistair is dead. Grandfather says that they best call down something called an Editrix. Cardinal asks if Grandfather is serious about that. He answers, "Quite. Can't risk another sea day." Down in the sewers, the pair of deformed teenagers named Naldo and Heck are leading the paper girls to safety. Heck tells them, "Let's keep moving, unless you want to take your chances out there with the old-timers." KJ demands some answers before her and her friends go any further. Heck says, "The sooner you quit waving that thing at us, the sooner we'll be able to get your friend to a device that can heal her." KJ, talking about Alistair, says that that's what the man in white promised them before you murdered him. Heck explains, "I didn't murder anyone. I executed the evil son of a bitch for murdering my boyfriend, Jude." Even in 1988, people were not as easily accepting of gays and still found it a little shocking to find out someone was gay. Tiffany replies with confusion, "Your boyfriend?" Mac replies, "Ew." KJ tells Mac to be more respectful. Heck doesn't take offense, though. He tells the girls, "Don't worry about it. You guys are from an effed up time." As they continue to traverse through the sewers, they hear an odd noise. Heck, worried, explains it is something called an Editrix. He continues explaining to the girls what it is, but then he realizes that His translator device that he's been using, the one that he picked up from Alistair, it must have some sort of tracking in it, and that is how the old-timers have been tracking them. So he destroys it, although now he can't speak with the girls and have them understand him. Just then, the Editrix floats in front of them in the sewer and managed to track them down. An Editrix looks like a floating green glowy ball thing with tentacles coming out of it, and each tentacle has an eye on it. These Editrixes are mysterious beings of unknown origin that came from the 4th dimension. Heck attempts to shoot the Editrix with his ray gun, but the Editrix fires on Heck out of one of its eyes with a laser, and Heck falls down. Mac yells for KJ to shoot at it, but KJ admits that she didn't bring any bullets. She didn't want anyone else to get accidentally shot. The Editrix with one of its tentacles starts strangling Tiffany. When the Editrix touches someone, that person sees flashes of their past and future. As the Editrix is strangling Tiffany, she sees flashes of her life playing out. Almost all of the flashes seem to be Tiffany playing this video game that is like Brick Breaker, and Tiffany appears to have played this game for many years. At one point, she gets to round 35 and is excited. That is further than she's ever gotten before. But then she gets game over and it was back to round 1, and she plays some more. Is this what Tiffany's life has in store for her? Many years of playing this video game? Eventually, in real life, KJ tackles Tiffany away from the Editrix, breaking the tentacle off. And Tiffany stops having these memory flashes. Naldo with his ray gun then shoots at the Editrix multiple times until he runs out of ammo, but he seems to have killed it. Tiffany explains to KJ, "When I touched that thing, I saw my life flash before my eyes. I started like reliving it. It was hell. Most of it was just me playing that same dumb game. I didn't even think I liked it that much, but now I realize I basically wasted my entire existence. God, I can still hear it. I can still hear that crappy music from the game. Why didn't I stop when I was stuck at level 28 for so long?" Eventually, Heck, Naldo, and the paper girls exit the sewer, and they are in a forest. Heck and Naldo lead the girls to one of their capsule devices, identical to the one in the basement the girls saw earlier. Heck sticks his hand in an opening of the capsule device, and it opens. KJ suspects that they've probably got some kind of futuristic first aid in there for Aaron. Like one of those MRI things, right? Heck and Naldo bring Aaron, who is almost dead from her gunshot wound, with them into the capsule. The rest of the girls are hesitant. Heck, he tries to explain to the girls what they are doing, but without the translation device, everything they say is just gibberish, so his explanations don't really help. The capsule door closes with Aaron, Heck, and Naldo inside, and the girls on the outside. Mac is concerned. She says, "Now what? We're just supposed to wait out here while they play 7 Minutes in Heaven in there?" The capsule device activates, and it disappears. Mac gets angry and says, "Those lying assholes bailed on us. They kidnapped Aaron." Alright, before I dive into the final issue of Volume 1, I want to take a step back now and explain a little bit of the different factions we've now heard a little bit about and spent some time with. So one faction is the old-timers, and the other faction is known as the teenagers. We know there is some sort of time travel stuff going on, and so far we've heard of these two groups, so let's start by explaining a little bit about the old-timers. Old-timers are the first generation of humans following the invention of time travel. They strongly believe in preserving the original timeline and strictly enforce the rules regarding time travel. They don't want people going to the past and changing things. The old-timers speak in a modified version of English, heavily dependent on slang similar to Old English in style. We, the readers, are able to sort of understand them, but their slang is sometimes sounding a little bit stupid and takes a little bit of time to figure out. Their leader is known by the title of Grandfather. We saw him giving some orders this issue. A subsect of the old-timers are a group known as Restorers. They are the people actively working to restore timelines altered by the events of the war. We've seen 2 Restorers so far, Alistair and Cardinal. The Restorers have the ability to erase and alter a person's memory. So all of the people that have been disappearing from Stony Stream were disappeared by these Restorers, and they were only doing so to protect the timeline. All those people would have their memory wiped, and then they would be returned back to normal without their memories of all the weird, confusing stuff they saw. And the timeline would therefore stay intact. Okay, so we have the old-timers who are supported by the Restorers, but the group they are warring against and having a time war with are called the Teenagers. The Teenagers are the descendants of the old-timers from way in the future, even further in the future. Grandfather refers to them as teenagers regardless of age, so some of the teenagers might actually be in their 20s or even older. But to Grandfather and the rest of the old-timers, they are all teenagers. The teenagers believe in the idea of altering history for the better. Unlike the old-timers, the teenagers do not have any rules regarding time travel. They often seek the assistance of locals, people living in the present time, to provide them with information for the war effort. And they speak in an even more futuristic language that is so convoluted it is only decipherable through translation gadgets. Alright, now that we know about these 2 main groups, let us continue on with Issue 5, the final issue in the first volume.
Kohl's is super underrated, and honestly, I've been shopping there pretty much since like middle school, high school.
On any given day, if you see me, I'm either wearing a pair of Vans or a pair of Converse.
Shop Kohl's today for all of your fashion needs and more, both in-store and online at kohls.com.
It's time to start a new chapter.
The only way we're gonna change Chicago is from the inside.
Heck and Naldo have brought Aaron to a place called their Wen house. There is some huge Apple device in there that does God knows what. Heck and Naldo are both wearing translation collars now, and Aaron can communicate easily with them. Naldo tells Aaron to let the bugs do their work. These weird, disgusting bugs are all over Aaron's bullet wound in her body, and they are healing her and repairing the tissue. Aaron is grossed out though. She says she thinks she might throw up. Heck tells her, don't throw up on the insects. But insects is spelled in that stupid way that Apple spells everything, with a lowercase I and then an uppercase N and then SECS. So these insects are actually some sort of first aid device invented by Apple in the future. Aaron, now feeling a little bit better, starts talking to Heck and Naldo, and she accuses them of stealing Tiffany's walkie-talkie. Heck and Naldo explain they are more so scavengers than thieves, really. Yesterday's trash is tomorrow's treasure. They say they found this badass spaceship they're in right now in some dump. Aaron, confused, asks, spaceship? I thought you were time travelers, not astronauts. Naldo explains, well, since Earth never stops moving, it's a bad idea to time travel without also considering location. Say you're standing in the middle of Stony Stream and you jump straight back 1 hour. You'll just end up floating in the frozen vacuum where the planet is about to be. Anyway, congrats, you're about to become an astronaut. Aaron is still confused. Naldo tells her to not worry about it. They are going to bring her back to her friends and then she will be fine. Just then though, some old-timers arrive in space as well with their own ships, and they are trying to ground Hek and Noldo and Eren. Hek worries, says, shit, we're gonna have to break curfew. I'm gonna have to shift us somewhere beneath them. All of a sudden their ship gets fired on with something and gets rocked and takes some damage. Back to Mac, Tiffany, and KJ. They are deciding what to do next. They remember the capsule that they saw earlier in the basement of that house they were in. KJ thinks they should go back there. Mac wonders if KJ means for them to use it to chase after Hek and Noldo. KJ, though, is not saying that. She starts thinking through some of the time travel possibilities and argues, no, I'm thinking there never was another ship. What if that capsule thing we found this morning was the exact same capsule thing those guys just left in with the new kid? Before the girls can leave to go check on KJ's theory, Cardinal, the restorer officer in white, flies down on her pterodactyl thing, and in her modified future version of English says, "Come ashore, Peacenik, now, eh?" Cardinal starts walking towards the girls. Tiffany, she starts pointing the gun at Cardinal. Of course, there are no bullets in the gun, but Cardinal doesn't know that. Tiffany is going to bluff. Tiffany is threatening to shoot Cardinal, and she says her and her friends will not be going with her. Cardinal is skeptical if Tiffany would actually shoot her, but eventually, after Tiffany's insistence, Cardinal decides to lower her staff weapon. Mac, she eventually goes over to it and picks up Cardinal's weapon, but as she is inspecting it, she accidentally fires it, and it strikes the ground right below Cardinal. And Cardinal, she falls back and she hits her head on a tree, and it knocks her out temporarily. While Cardinal is knocked out, the girls run away. When Cardinal eventually wakes up, she reports into Grandfather and apologizes for her failure. In her modified English, she says, "The young locals be harmed and dangerous. No choice but to try as adults. Permission decharge Ultimo?" Grandfather replies, "Denied. I'll punish them myself." We see Grandfather is walking in a room where there are various tubes, all filled with the many citizens of Stony Stream that they have collected. Back over to Eren, Hek, and Noldo. Eren is feeling better now. They are all in that capsule, but it looks damaged from their last interaction with the old-timers. Hek and Noldo looks like they have phased incorrectly, and their bodies are not fully intact, and they will soon die. Noldo looks already dead. As long as it could, but I'm worried our storage cells could have cracked, so you need to vamoose. Eren asks, why did they help her? Hek answers, you girls reminded us of us. Kids, just trying to make a living, are always the good guys. Go help your crew. Hek, he then passes out and dies. Eren, she pounds on the door of the capsule, and it opens, and she walks out. And when the door opens, Eren is in that basement of the house they were in earlier. And Tiffany, KJ, and Mac have all made their way there and are waiting for her. KJ's theory was accurate. Tiffany is wondering, hold up, does that mean that Eren was in there the whole time? That she was also down here with us earlier? Mac replies, who cares? She then asks Eren, those fruitcakes didn't hurt you, did they? Eren says no, they saved her, and now they're dead. Eren tells the girls that so they can't stay down here any longer. Outside of the house, Grandfather has personally came here to deal with this, and Grandfather is standing with Cardinal. Grandfather calls out to the girls, listen to your elders and come outside this instant. I'm sure you're confused, but whatever those juvenile delinquents in there told you is completely untrue. You have waded deep into a very old generational conflict. Those boys fancy themselves Robin Hoods stealing from the past to fund the future. But they're just a murderous gang of thugs. Get away from them before someone gets hurt. The paper girls inside the house are wondering what to do. They cannot stay in the house, but they don't want to surrender either. Luckily, though, the time machine capsule activates, and it transports the girls in time, and all 4 of them get jumped through time. The girls then fall from the air and hit the ground. KJ seems to have been transported elsewhere, but luckily Aaron, Tiffany, and Mac are all together, and they are still in Stony Stream still, but they are no longer in 1988. They have been transported to the distant future, the year 2016. Aaron, Tiffany, and Mac are in the middle of the road in Stony Stream. A car slams on its brakes as it almost hits them. The driver gets out of the car. Young Aaron puts up her hands and yells, "Excuse me, my name is Aaron Tiang. I deliver newspapers and my friends and I need help, please." The woman who got out of the car replies, "Is this a joke? My name is Aaron Tiang." And we see a 40-year-old Aaron standing before the girls. And with that cliffhanger, we end Volume 1. So that was Volume 1 of Paper Girls, and I thought this was a fantastic debut volume. I thought the artwork was pretty nice. I had a lot of fun following our 4 lead characters in this book and seeing them play off one another and their various banter, some of the jokes they had. So I'm really liking these characters. I thought the concept of the book was pretty interesting, exploring some of this science fiction time travel stuff, the old-timers and the teenagers, and I really want to know more about how that all works and their whole time travel war going on. And the cliffhanger we ended this volume on I thought was pretty compelling, with the girls being sent to the year 2016, their future, where they meet a future version of Aaron. And it's some great stuff. I'm going to give this opening volume an 8.5 out of 10. Thank you all for watching. Next week I will be back with Paper Girls Volume 2, and you do not want to miss Volume 2, because Volume 2 is really fun, because we see some of the girls adjusting to the future, and there is lots of fun to be had there. So I will see you all for that next week.
Sure feels good when you get it right. And with Philips Sonicare technology, it's easy to always get brushing right. Philips.
Ryan Cave to see some of the differences between the TV show and the comic. I am planning on covering the remainder of the series over the rest of the summer. So what is Paper Girls about? It is about 4 newspaper delivery girls, and it is set in the 1980s. And these 4 girls get sucked into this crazy time travel adventure where they meet their future selves, and they are caught in the middle of this war between these 2 factions. This show reminds me a lot of Stranger Things mixed with the movie Stand By Me, mixed with various other time travel stuff you may have seen out there. Now, I personally really like this show. While it is not perfect, I think it is pretty good. Now, some criticisms I've seen online are comparing this show to Stranger Things and saying it is ripping Stranger Things off. And I'll have you know that the comic book was written before Stranger Things even existed. So all that stuff with kids on bikes in the 80s, with lots of 80s nostalgia around them and some sci-fi stuff going on, was all established before Stranger Things was even a thing. The criticism I've seen online about this show is people calling it woke, which kind of annoys me because there's nothing really political in this show. It just happens to star female leads instead of straight white men. But just because it stars females doesn't mean it's woke. Anyway, that label just kind of annoys me. If you don't like the show, you don't like the show, that's fine. But don't apply labels and start political discussions on stuff where it's not really warranted. Anyway, let's talk about the cast. The casting of the show is really good. And I am someone that gets really annoyed when TV shows or movies don't cast actors that match the source material. TV show really managed to nail down the cast. KJ, Mac, and Tiffany, I think, matched the look of their comic book counterparts really nicely. Erin, she is shy and timid, and she's adjusting to being new in town, and the actress really got that across. KJ is exploring her sexuality and dealing with being the rich girl. Mac is dealing with being the poor girl from a rougher upbringing and being kind of a hard ass. And Tiffany, she is dealing with being this over-ambitious girl with dreams of being valedictorian and going to MIT. And I feel they really nailed all of these character archetypes. I really liked all of the girls and how they were portrayed, and their various conversations they had over the course of the season. Now, were all of these young girls amazing actresses? But I thought they were all definitely passable, and some even very strong. I really liked the character of Mac, especially. I think she was my favorite. The thing I found kind of funny, though, is that in the comic, Mac is always smoking, and in the TV show, they still wanted to keep that part of her character, but they never wanted to actually let the young actress smoke. So Mac was always trying to find her cigarettes or trying to get a cigarette, but they never let her actually light up, which I assume was some sort of conscious decision by the executives at Amazon. Anyway, the TV show expanded certain characters' backstories, and a lot of the girls got a lot more time with their future selves than they did in the comic book. So I am liking this expanded upon storyline that we got in the show. Mac, for example, had a whole story in season 1 with her brother Dylan, who was kind of absent in the comics, but in the show was probably one of the more fleshed out future storylines. To the casting of the girls, I thought Ali Wong as adult Erin was pretty good, and I thought it was kind of funny that Jason Mantzoukas as grandfather, who was kind of the big villain in the comic and the show, was also pretty funny casting because basically looks exactly like grandfather in the comics without even trying. They didn't even have to change his hairstyle. So that was kind of amusing to me. I would say the story is staying relatively true to the comics, which is something I do like. Like I mentioned, the casting is pretty on point. Now, some of the girls' adventure goes in a little bit of a different direction, and we are introduced to different characters, and we meet some of the girls' future selves in a way that is different than in the comic, but for the most part, the gist of the story is relatively the same. Now, there are a few things in the comic that I wish made its way into the show. For example, I thought it was funny how Apple was the one responsible for a lot of this time travel technology in the comic, and that is ignored in the TV show, maybe for copyright reasons or brand reasons or something. I also thought that there was some good banter between young Erin and adult Erin that was present in the comic that was maybe altered in a way that wasn't as good in the TV show. However, on the flip side, the TV show is adding some storylines and plot points and stuff that was not present in the comic that I really appreciate and think expands the story a lot. So, you know, I'm a little bit mixed on things. There's some good, some bad, but overall I'm kind of pleased with the adaptation so far. I do want to mention the CGI and the look and direction of the show, which I find maybe a little bit lacking. Maybe there needed to be a little bit of a bigger budget to get some of this time travel, high science fiction stuff across. So that is one part where maybe it was a little bit lacking. In conclusion, while season 1 was not perfect, the CGI was maybe not the best, the budget could have been a little bit better, I think maybe the story could have been laid out a little bit more clearly, especially for people that haven't read the comic. They might be a little confused. Some of these negatives, overall, I'm pretty much liking this opening season. I like the casting of the girls and having some of their banter, and seeing the uniqueness of having these female leads was really great. and I was entertained throughout, and I really want to see a season 2, and I hope this show gets to finish its story. I think they could wrap up the story in the comics in about 1 or 2 more seasons tops, so I hope they get a chance to do it. I'm going to give this opening season of Paper Girls an 8 out of 10. Thank you all for watching. Check out...
I don't like how hard my YouTube is buffering right now. This shit will not kick back in. Nope. Son of a bitch. Well, looks like YouTube said fuck your streaming entertainment. Man, this motherfucking fly is getting annoying as shit now, bro. You keep flying right in front of my damn painting, man. YouTube. What the hell? Oh, I did watch like a little piece of the first episode of the Resident Evil series. The girl was out by herself trying to get some tests or something, and started getting chased.
In the case of Jon Stewart, we are making an exception. I first met Jon, or Bulldog, as all of his good friends call him, in 1999 when I became a correspondent on The Daily Show. It was a dream job. I share an office with my friend Stephen Colbert. I traveled the country doing field reports about interesting and eccentric people. I worked with an incredibly talented production team, and above all else, I had front row seats to witness the magic of Jon Stewart. It is impossible to exaggerate the amount of physical and mental effort that went into making The Daily Show. And Jon carried the bulk of that work on his sinewy, narrow shoulders. He was our leader, and we would do anything for him. One of my first assignments was an interview with a man who ran a venom research facility in Nebraska. When I got there, the research facility was actually a mobile home full of snakes. Some in cages, some free range. The scientist who ran the facility had been bitten by his snakes so many times that the hospital wouldn't send an ambulance all the way out to his home anymore. It was terrifying, as I have a phobia of things that can kill me. Fortunately, I managed to not get bitten or squeezed to death. Jon loved the interview. As he watched it, he jokingly said over and over that it would have been great if I'd actually been bitten by a snake. I remember him saying, quote, "That would have been great if you'd been bitten by one of those snakes." I would have loved that. That would have been so funny. Do you remember that, Jon? Another time, Jon sent Stephen and I out to do a report about the effects of alcohol on motor skills. In a loosely controlled experiment, I drank 6 Long Island iced teas in the course of about 45 minutes, while Stephen tested my cognitive abilities. On the way home, I threw up out the window of Stephen's car. Unfortunately, the window was closed. Jon loved that I had pushed the envelope, that I had jeopardized my personal health and well-being for the sake of a 2-minute comedy sketch. He asked if there was any extended footage of the vomiting. There wasn't. He also reiterated that he'd like to see me bitten by a snake at some point. Jon was always supporting us, always cheering us on from the comfort and safety of his office. He once had me eat Crisco on camera. It could have been vanilla frosting because that looks exactly the same, and I told him so, but Jon is a perfectionist and would have none of it. Go big or go home, Jon used to say. He loved that phrase. He also liked, "I'm getting too old for this." And also, "Did I do that?" My years of working with Jon were wonderful, full of excitement, fear, physical distress, and laughter. And as much as it pains me to do this, I have to be earnest for a minute. Jon, you are a great writer and performer. You are articulate and thoughtful. You are funny and kind, and you care deeply. As most of you know, The Daily Show was shot in New York City, and naturally the show stopped filming after 9/11. Production was shut down, and the city struggled to recover. We didn't know when we would go back on the air because it was hard to imagine trying to be funny again. When Jon finally decided to resume the show, his first night back, he delivered a commentary. Speaking from the heart, he took on the immensely difficult job of finding some context, some hope in the wake of such a devastating tragedy.
Any fool can destroy. But to see these guys, these firefighters, these policemen, and people from all over the country, literally with buckets, rebuilding, that's extraordinary.
In that moment, he encapsulated, at least to me, why the show existed, and what sets him apart. He strives to make sense out of the insane and to find joy within darkness. John, your intellect, sense of humor, and fearlessness are an inspiration to me. I thank you for that. We thank you for that. Congratulations, Bulldog!
Mastriano introduced a bill to overturn the election results and declare Trump the winner. What he'd do as governor is even scarier.
As governor, I get to decertify any or all machines in the state.
Doug Mastriano, a dangerous risk to Pennsylvania. Vista Vision Center, we give you more. Vista Vision Center.
The only thing more bizarre than a 16-foot or nearly 5-meter tall statue depicting a 5-legged human-headed bull with wings, which, by the way, was carved out of one massive piece of stone weighing some 40 imperial tons or 80,000 pounds. Yes, the only thing stranger than this statue and the few others like it is how and where they found them. Buried and consumed in earth, almost as if they were devoured by some sort of cataclysmic mud flood-like event. These spectacular yet ominous winged bull sculptures are known as the Lamassu and are among the remnants of the Assyrian Empire, which made up the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, or commonly referred to as the Fertile Crescent. And I have to say, the only thing more bizarre than the statues themselves or how and where they found them, which I'll be discussing more of in just a moment, but the only thing more bizarre than all of that is the deliberate, continued, and systematic destruction of ancient Iraq, which, let's not forget, just so happens to be the very land that has long been referenced as the so-called cradle of civilization, the very place where the Sumerians emerged. And when I say systematic destruction of ancient Iraq, wait until you see and hear what I'm going to show you later in this video, because if you thought that these were nothing more than a number of angry, violent, stupid people bent on destruction or some jaded religious crusade, I regret to tell you that that is not the case. And rather, something far more nefarious took place to orchestrate their methodical destruction, which you'll find to be quite disturbing. In fact, I'd even venture to say that once you hear and see what I'm about to show you, it's just one of those things that you'll never forget. Now, before I get to that, let me first share a few fascinating things to lead up to it. And I must say that I am still pinching myself when I reflect on that I was one of so few people to ever see and touch these Lamassu statues in person during my nearly year-long deployment to northern Iraq in 2009 and 2010, including being stationed at Forward Operating Base in the city of Mosul, which is in the modern-day location of ancient biblical city of Nineveh. Those of you who have followed me for some time have heard me share this unique experience before, as I happened to be at the right place and at the right time to have this once-in-a-lifetime encounter. And although my thoughts on the invasion of Iraq have evolved significantly in the years following, and you know what, screw it, I'll just be blunt. I had volunteered after 9/11, and then later on I had believed that I was going to go and liberate the Iraqi people. But after some time, I eventually figured out that I had been egregiously lied to by the various powers that be, and ultimately the invasion of Iraq was unjustified, illegal, and one massive crime against humanity. But all those wonderful thoughts aside, I am nonetheless selfishly grateful that I was afforded the unlikely chance to visit a site that countless researchers, historians, and archaeologists from around the world had long sought to visit firsthand but couldn't, as it was virtually off limits for decades. And unfortunately, any opportunity there once was has since passed, as back in 2014, these statues attained global attention when ISIS invaded northern Iraq and completely decimated this entire site, which made up the gates of Nergal. I remember watching this on the news when it happened and being in total disbelief that this was occurring at the exact same place that I had been. Now, this particular statue here is from that same location, but has resided at the Oriental Institute Museum at the University of Chicago since 1930. And I had the great pleasure of visiting during a trip to Chicago, and I have to say that this is one little-known gem of a museum. And if you ever find yourself in Chicago, which, by the way, is a lovely town, this museum is a must-visit, as they have an astonishing set of artifacts that are amongst the oldest and rarest from all of ancient human civilizations. They even have a wonderful collection from ancient Egypt as well. In fact, they have more than 5,000 total artifacts in the museum on display, and you could spend hours and hours looking at everything they have on exhibit. And although 5,000 artifacts is a lot, it is sadly only a small percentage of the more than 350,000 total relics they have in this museum's catalog. Do the math, and that is actually less than 1.5% of their total inventory. I feel that that's worth mentioning because it is unfortunately the case at most any museum, as a vast majority of all the artifacts ultimately sit forgotten within their dusty boxes down in the bowels of museum basements. What I wouldn't do to go take a gander through their archives. But that aside, this statue is one of so few that remain in the world today. However, you can still find a few others scattered throughout the world, including at the Iraq Museum in Baghdad, a few at the Louvre in France, which, by the way, I really want to go to, and a couple more at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. I am pleased to mention, though, that these artifacts were not stolen, and they were actually given to the Oriental Institute by the countries they originate from, at least in a few examples that I had read about, particularly this statue. They were essentially given as gifts for helping to excavate these remarkable sites. Now, you have to see this in person to truly grasp its size and eminence. I'm 5'10" or 178 centimeters, and what I saw in person with my own eyes was truly something else. The very shoulder of just one of its legs is above my head, and when you're up close, you understand what a behemoth this thing is. The torso itself is so large that you cannot observe the entirety unless you take at least a few steps back. And keep in mind that all of these photos you're seeing were captured on ultra-wide camera lens, which thus distorts the true depth and width. Pictures simply do not do this thing justice for what your eyes witness firsthand. And by the way, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it has 5 legs. You see 4 of them when viewing it from the side, which gives the statue the appearance of essentially walking forward. However, when you view it from the front, you'll see the 5th leg, and the bull at that time appears to just be standing still. It's incredible. And this precision of this stone is nothing short of excellent. The nuanced details ranging from the feathers to the braided beard and all of its curls, as well as its lips and eyes, and by the way, notice that it also has ears of a bull as well. And observe the fine cuneiform script written in between the legs. There is just so much focused detail to this beautiful statue that when you're in front of it, you know you're in the presence of greatness. And although it has a rather striking or ominous look to it, I felt delighted to be within its company. And to help us further appreciate what an undertaking it would have been to create this thing, you should know that what this statue has survived over the course of thousands of years. Besides the fact that it was buried following whatever happened to it in order to break it in half in the first place. In fact, when they excavated it, they found that it was broken into 12 pieces. Which is so interesting because, again, what type of forces would have been involved to break this thing apart to that extent? But its burial and mud aside, you'll further appreciate the precision carved into the hardness of this stone when you learn that following its excavation, a building literally fell on top of it, yet caused so little damage to all the subtle details. This thing was built to last, and every bit of the precision would certainly have been challenging, especially when you consider the unbelievably strong nature of this type of stone. Simply compare it to one that was destroyed in Iraq and just see how difficult it was to do so, despite taking a literal jackhammer to do it. But I digress for a moment, and going back to the statue in Chicago, you'd hardly realize the damage it endured unless you observe it from the back, where you can see how they pieced it together using gypsum. And speaking of the back of it, keep in mind that this statue once lined the walls of the throne room to King Sargon II, which brings me back to the question as to how and why it was destroyed and consumed in earth in the first place, because History suggests that although Mesopotamia was made up of multiple empires such as the Sumerians, the Assyrians, and Babylonians, there still would have been an overall continuity of civilization itself, and that no cataclysmic event would have differentiated the changes in empires and governments, at least not that we are aware of. So it makes me wonder why they would have allowed such an impressive palace, which, by the way, was said to be one of the most spectacular ever created up until that point. So why would they have allowed the sands of time to just consume it? That is unless something else we may not be aware of could have facilitated its quick burial. That's a question. I just don't know, but I do have questions about the nature in which they found these ruins. But if there is one question related to these statues, it's why was there such an orchestrated attempt to ensure that so many of them would be destroyed? I mean, when you look at the specifics of the ISIS invasion of Iraq, it was nothing short of sophisticated. Those who chose to annihilate this site went totally out of their way to do so, and not only that, they went to the challenging extent of bringing in heavy equipment to accomplish the task. Make no mistake, this was a highly coordinated undertaking, and not done so at the behest of a bunch of stupid idiots behaving like fools, exhorting some sort of perverted false ideology. No, there is far more to this than meets the eye. And this is the part that I alluded to earlier in the video involving a conspiracy to destroy ancient Iraq. We all recognize this guy, don't we? And although I have no doubt that this man is guilty of a few things, but the one thing I heard him say when addressing the ISIS of invasion of Iraq and all the destruction that followed, he stated something to the media that so few people have ever heard. So here is a 1.5-minute clip from 2015, which is absolutely worth watching, and just listen to what he had to say in the context of the creation of ISIS and their invasion of Iraq, as it's very, very important. So here we go.
Вот президент Обама упомянул об одной из угроз, это ИГИЛ. Ну а кто помогал вооружать людей, которые в Сирии боролись с Асадом-то? Кто создавал благоприятный политический информационный климат? Кто подталкивал к поставкам оружия? А вы чего? Разве вы не понимаете, кто там воюет? Там воюют наемники. В основном. Вы знаете, что там платят деньги? И они воюют там, где платят больше. Вот они вооружились определенную сумму. Мне даже называли эти суммы, которые им платят. Они там воюют уже с оружием, все, у них уже не отнимешь. Потом выяснилось, что в другом месте чуть-чуть начали побольше платить. Они там туда перетекут. Вот они захватили месторождения нефтяные, там, скажем, где-то в Ираке или в Сирии. Нефть начали добывать. У них эту нефть покупают, транспортируют, продают. Почему санкции не накладывают на всех, кто это делает? А что, разве Соединенные Штаты не знают, кто это делает? Это разве не их союзники этим занимаются?
You know, I hate to admit it, but he's telling the truth. And what he said was something I had already concluded way before he had ever said it. In fact, when ISIS first invaded Iraq, I remember talking to a buddy over the phone who I deployed with, and we both came to the same conclusion that these are mercenaries. Like, this is not a pack of just religious extremists that are like out to break something and take over a piece of land. This was so sophisticated. I mean, I saw and I understood that these are legitimately mercenaries. They are far too sophisticated in the context of military movement, and it was done so in a manner that exceeded the sloppiness of an angry, violent group of religious extremists, like I mentioned. This was a legit military operation, and many people who have never served in combat operations do not realize the multiple facets of discipline as well as communications involved for it to function as such. But more so than that, these people went out of their way to completely massacre the peaceful populace of Yazidi people that made up that region. They killed the men and the children and took the women as their slave wives. This happened. Everyone in the know knew it. It was all over the news at the time. And the rest of the world didn't seem to care. And the reality is that anyone that would massacre innocent people, including children, and then kidnap and rape their own, to take a slave wife. That type of person is a complete and total psychopath. And you know what? That is what a mercenary army looks like. The types of people that would literally kill innocent people for money are the types of people that would choose to become mercenaries in the first place. These people committed literal genocide. And I have to say that it's depressingly remarkable to see how few people cared about this, despite it, again, being all over the news to anyone that was paying attention. But on top of all of that, just to point out another fact which tells us that the ISIS invaders were actual mercenaries paid by someone, when you consider the significant fact that so many of them were using American-made M4s and M16s instead of the AK-47. That right there is highly telling and only further validates Putin's alluding statements that they were paid and armed by others. So, yeah, I believe him. And the very look and tone on his voice and his face when he said that screamed of the truth. And by the way, a side point, Monsanto, a terrorist organization, and all the efforts he made to rid his country of non-organic and GMO foods, I knew that there was more to this guy than what the media would let the masses believe. I mean, I'm not some Putin apologist, but I seek the truth from anyone that would dare speak it. And going back to his specific Iraq comments, the very fact that once ISIS took over, they began selling more oil than Iraq had ever done so in its history is unbelievably significant, because think about it. This was not some group of stupid extremists. These people, psychopaths as they were clearly having their strings pulled by powers operating in the shadows and far above them. I'm telling you, this whole thing was highly sophisticated and methodical.
Damn.
It is in every sense a true conspiracy. So the question for me now becomes, why did whoever that had the power to orchestrate the invasion itself and the subsequent destruction, why did they choose to ensure that these ancient biblical sites would be erased from history forever? And you want to hear something else that's creepy? The purpose of these Lamasa statues were said to be protected deities, demonic entities away. So it's quite interesting that the closest thing to an actual demonic force would indeed seek out to obliterate them in such a purposeful fashion. Interesting, right? I'll be very curious to hear what everyone else's thoughts are on all of this, whether it's just the statues themselves, which are spectacular, but also the clear intention to destroy these sites within ancient Iraq. Many people have proposed conspiracies in the past involving certain ancient human history relics in Iraq and Afghanistan that some have suggested was one of the purposes for going in there in the first place. It's hard to tell what's true and what isn't, but all I know is that there's something to this situation that makes my eyebrow go up. So that said, hit the like button and subscribe. I have more interesting videos to come, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts on any and all of the things discussed in this video. But that said, my name is Jimmy Corsetti. My channel is called Bright Insight. Stay tuned to another fascinating video. Take care, everybody.
Alright, bro. Sure appreciate you, chilling in the goddamn studio with me this afternoon. Alright, so I know it's been a minute. I definitely got to start back streaming a little bit more. And I'll get with you next time. Peace.